Hello and welcome back to Prog Month, and we are continuing it with perhaps the shortest lived band in the prog era. Genesis is really like two bands in one. The last half of their discography is so incredibly different from the first half that you're either going to be on one side or the other. Which side do I like? Well, this is Prog Month and not Boring Pop Song Month, so you could probably guess which side I prefer. But let's get right into the genesis of Prog Month, which would have been a cool line if they were first, but damn. And coming in at last with no surprise at all is the last album, Calling All Stations. Now, it's not all bad. The title track and the diving line are pretty decent, but beyond that, it's just a really boring and really lackluster way to go out. I think the new singer does fine. I mean, I don't totally hate his voice, but it's just the songs that really don't do anything. And speaking of that, from the last to the first, their debut really doesn't offer anything. A lot of it is just clean stuff, and I wouldn't particularly go back to any song on it. As a debut, it's fine, but just fine. And that's about it. Just a bunch of young dudes making some music that really didn't fully evolve until the next one. We Can't Dance was the end of Phil's run, and again, it's pretty whatever. Driving Last Spike and Dreaming are pretty good songs. And I Can't Dance, I guess, is a hit. I remember hearing this song playing on my old job, and I didn't know it was them. And I was thinking to myself, like, who sings this annoying-ass song? So I looked it up, and I was like, oh, wow. It's Genesis. I mean, as far as their hits go, that's easily the worst one. The majority of the album is just more boring stuff, but it has at least a couple decent songs. The first good song on Duke isn't until Misunderstanding, and it's only like 3 minutes long. Please Don't Ask is just bad, and the last few tracks, the Dukes, actually have some pretty great moments. They kind of anger me though, because you can tell that they still had some greatness in them, but instead of choosing to write stuff like that, they chose to write boring shit with like 7 minutes of good material. It's just kind of frustrating with this album. Abba, the first one I own, is a pretty decent step up from the last few. I like the first track, the title track, a decent bit. Man on the Corner is another modern classic and definitely one of the better ones. This album is much more poppy than Duke, but it's so much more enjoyable, despite that album having a really good finale. The only downside to this album is a little track called Who Done It, which is, without a doubt, one of the dumbest fucking songs I ever heard in my life. I mean, that one's bad. Like, really bad. I can't believe they composed that and thought, yeah, let's put that shit on the album. To quote AVGN, what were they thinking? Invisible Touch, I was hoping would be a major improvement over the rest of the 80s stuff, since this one got so goddamn popular, but unfortunately, it really isn't. Tonight really has no purpose being 9 minutes long. Domino is okay, but the rest is just kind of whatever. That is, of course, the reason it made it to number 10. Invisible Touch and Land of Confusion absolutely slay. I would take those two songs over the entirety of everything else below it. Those two songs are the reason this album got so big. And yeah, they're pretty great. The Beginning of the End. And Then There Were Three has some really good moments on it. Ballad of Big is a pretty groovy song. Deep in the Motherlode I really liked with the keys in it. But again, it's just kind of overall okay. But it's at least more consistent, I think, than the last few. And the best album of the later Genesis sound is the self-titled one. Mama, I think Phil just slays it vocally. That's All is another modern classic and actually pretty good. Taking It All Too Hard and Just a Job to Do are pretty decent. Illegal Alien is not good. That one's just bad. It's an improvement over the rest of them, but not by a whole lot. Still an improvement though. Wind and Wuthering is continuing the trend of these super light songs. One for the vibe, has some cool moments on it. Watt Gorilla, W-O-T Gorilla, whatever, however you want to say it, I think is the first really interesting song on it. And I also really like In That Quiet Earth. I just wish the rest of the album flowed more along those lines. But still, we're like in the middle, so they're getting pretty good. Okay, now I'd say we finally cross into the really good range. This is where I give a total positive score to all of these, and I will own all of them eventually. We begin with Trespass, and it is such a major improvement over the first album. I mean, obviously, since it's like 8 spots higher. The vocals are nearly unrecognizable from the first one. Instruments are mostly in that softer range. I mean, they do surface occasionally and beat ass. Stagnation, I think, represents the overall album really well. And, of course, you have The Knife, which is like the go-to song on this album. And this is where they started to get really good on their second album. The Big Kahuna, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, is certainly the most ambitious the band ever got. It starts pretty decent, but once In the Cage comes on, that's where I'm like, alright, here we go. Counting Out Time is another good rockin' tune, and the first disc is pretty okay. As you could probably tell, I am much more of a fan of the more rocking stuff. On the second disc, I really like the keys on Anyway. The next track is pretty good too, and it was a really good closer. I don't think this album really needed to be 2 discs long, since I think there's only a few songs that are really notable. But not to suggest I don't like it. I mean, shit, what number is this? I don't know. I lost count. You want me to review a Foxtrot? It has 2 songs that really carry it. Can Utility and Supper's Ready. The rest is okay, but those 2 songs, premium content. And yeah, that's literally all I have to say about this album. Alright, here we go, y'all. Top 3 time. So, Trick of the Trail got a major bump up. Alright, let me tell you. First of all, Dance on a Volcano is a pretty fun song. Phil carries the hell out of Squonk. The softer songs like Entangled and Man Man Moon, I don't care for really at all. And then Robbery Point, I think, is a good balance between the hard and the soft stuff. Middle Ripples is another good standout track, and the bass towards the end of the title track is just amazing. Overall, it has some moments that shine, but there's still a lot of softer and more mellow sections. Probably the most this band had to up until that point. While I was putting my order together, I was sticking this album around the number 6 spot, because I thought, alright, there's only 1 song left, so it'll go here. And then Los Endos started playing. I literally put my phone down and I thought, oh shit, what's happening now? That song's the reason this album is at number 3. It's probably my favorite single Genesis track. It's got such a great chugging feel and it goes almost the entire song. Los Endos is incredible. It single-handedly put that album at number 3. Our runner-up is going to be Selling England by the Pound. The second track, I Know What I Like, In Your Wardrobe, is just really goofy. Firth of Fifth is just absolutely beautiful with the instrumental break in the middle. And then Cinema Show also has a really great break in it. These are my favorite parts. I mean, vocals are fine, but like whenever they're present, they're all, whimsical and telling a story, which doesn't really interest me too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love me some Peter Gabriel, but like my attention goes to the instruments, and they're pretty damn good on this album. And that leads us into our number one pick. What's left? Well, it's going to be Nursery Crime. This is where they went full on prog. Obviously Music Box is the big standout, but there's other great tracks like The Return of the Giant Hogweed and The Fountain of Salmacis, whatever. There's just constant building and more building and many different musical directions it takes. And man, sometimes it's easy to forget how much Collins absolutely massacred the set back in the day. I really think if he continued, he would have been truly one of the greats. And that's gonna be it for me today. Let me know what you think down below. Perhaps you're more in favor of the later stuff and have a completely different list than me, which would be pretty cool. But, be sure to come by next week and we'll talk about one of Jim Carrey's finest performances, Yes Man. I'll see you then. But before I let you all go, small announcement, we actually just hit 100 subscribers on this channel. Wow. I just want to say, quick thank you to everyone who's coming to the channel, checking out my videos, commenting. There's a few of you guys constantly slaying in these comments. FM Bro, goddamn Matthew Rush, Leonardo Cruz. You guys are always in my comments, leaving your rankings and everything. It's awesome, man. I started this channel just to kind of like a getaway from some stuff going on. So, it's been a little over a year, and I just got my little community going on here, and it's awesome, man. So just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of you again, and here's to 100 more, and here's to the rest of Prog Month. Get ready, because it's gonna get wild next week.